Okay, good morning everyone. It is 11 o'clock, Cabinet 9th of February. As usual, it's broadcast live via the website and archived so you can view it later. Usual stuff, microphones off when you speak and off when you've done. Apologies, we've got none. Minutes, I move the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of December as taken as read, confirmed and signed. Deborah?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favour? Thank you. Urgent items. I've agreed to take one urgent item, report from the Chief regarding the recent gas outage in Ratby and Kirby Muxloe. This item is urgent because this has been a major incident. I would like Cabinet to put on record at the earliest opportunity the Council's appreciation of the work done to help local residents, but also the necessity of getting answers to the questions as to why this unprecedented event happened. We don't currently have it. So what we want to do is find out why it happened and what they should have done to stop it happening. So I'm going to alter the order paper and take this first. But before we do that, I need to do declarations of interest. I'm aware Mr. Peter Bedford has a disclosable pecuniary interest in the urgent item. Peter?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll declare a disclosable pecuniary interest in the urgent report on the gas outage. Although it doesn't directly affect my financial interests, it relates in part to my employer, and I think it appropriate for me not to participate in the debate and to leave the room whilst the item is discussed.
Very wise, Peter. So we'll wait for you to go out before we kick off. Call you back when we're done. So we'll move straight to the urgent item. We've got Tom Pennell here, Assistant Chief Executive, to present the report. After Tom has spoken, I'm going to ask the Cabinet members who are the local members directly affected to move and second a motion. So I'll be going to Ozzy first and then Lee. So you're on, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. The report, as you say, provides an update on the recent major incident involving a serious gas outage on Tuesday, the 30th of January, affecting Ratby and Kirby Muxloe. Paragraphs 8 to 18 describe the incident, its impacts and the immediate response. The incident involved a burst water pipe, which then led to significant amounts of water entering gas pipes, causing thousands of residents to have their gas supply disrupted for a sustained period. Later that day, a major incident was declared by the Local Resilience Forum and a response structure put in place, with the Council's Director of Children and Family Services chairing a multi-agency tactical coordinating group. That group continues to meet and indeed met this morning. A second burst water pipe incident occurred at the same location on Saturday, the 3rd of February. 3,500 properties were affected in total, and paragraph 16 summarises the position with reconnecting them to the supply as of Wednesday. By that time, most properties had been reconnected and it was possible to stand down the major incident during Wednesday, but the response activities do continue. In addition to the two utility companies involved fixing the breached pipes, the response to the incident has involved the gas distribution company Cadent undertaking extensive works to clear the gas pipe network of water and visiting each affected property to make sure appliances could be reconnected to the supply safely. Cadent also distributed electric fan heaters and hot plates to affected properties. It has also involved the Local Resilience Forum coordinating a comprehensive multi-agency response, which is summarised in paragraph 21. And that response has involved a very positive collaboration between a range of public agencies, including this council, the two district councils, Cadent, voluntary and community organisations, volunteers, and of course the local community itself. Response activity is continuing to ensure remaining properties are reconnected and necessary appliance repairs and replacements undertaken. As I said, the TCG is continuing to meet to oversee the response and to seek to ensure that Severn Trent Water are fully understanding the seriousness of the incident and are giving it the priority it requires and that local residents deserve. The latest information I have from the meeting this morning is that Severn Trent are now aware of 125 properties that had water past the meter and require repairs to appliances. Boilers and boiler repairs and replacements are being prioritised, and Severn Trent have said they hope to have all boilers replaced and repaired early next week. Cadent have noted that 6 properties, they still haven't been able to access 6 properties to make the necessary reconnection of the supply. Paragraphs 19 to 24 cover a number of issues and questions arising from the response, and these inform the recommendations made to you. This includes seeking explanations from Severn Trent Water regarding the cause of the burst water pipe incidents and the speed of their response. The report also acknowledges and recognises the excellent response to the incident of the local community, who rallied round to support each other and especially their vulnerable residents. They were ably and effectively supported by the LRF team, other local authority officers from all three councils, a range of voluntary and community organisations, and also volunteers. It's highlighted that those responsible for the incident have an obligation to the local community to do all they can to reconnect services and repair or replace appliances, and to provide appropriate compensation as speedily as possible. And finally, the incident has led to local public agencies, including the council, incurring substantial costs at a time when they are under significant financial pressure. And it's recommended that these costs be assessed so that the costs can be reclaimed from those responsible for the incident. The recommendations made seek to address these issues and are as set out on the order paper.
Thank you, Tom. Ozzy.
Thank you, Leader. I formally move the order paper, but first of all, I just would like to put on record my sincere thanks to Cadent for the way that they have supported the community of Ratby and Kirby. They've gone beyond what they needed to do, in my opinion. They really have shown what a decent company they are. I want to praise also the community who have actually gelled together and worked together on this issue. They really have been a godsend to each other, helping each other, people taking heaters to their neighbours, looking after the vulnerable. The council, this council, I can't but thank for the officers. Hinckley and Bosworth Council, I can't but thank for the officers. Also, Blaby District Council, the Leicester Search and Rescue Team, the St John's Ambulance, they all came together to help the community that I serve. For the record, I was on the ground all week, working till late. My priority is my community, and that I say is one hell of a community that has a real good community spirit. So I want to hear from Severn Trent what they're going to do, because I was personally affected with 7 days without any gas or heating. But Cadent, as I say, came to the rescue to everybody. They offered heaters. Our officers all went round knocking on doors. Every door was visited, and any vulnerable person that couldn't get to the community centre to actually pick up a heater was brought one round by the St John's Ambulance or the Resilience team. Our wholeheartedly thanks go to the whole lot of the volunteers. If I've missed anybody, I do apologise, because it was a massive effort. But Severn Trent really do need to explain why they came late and what happened, because I made that call to Severn Trent at 6:45 on the Monday night after my colleague could get no real proper response from them. They told me a 12-hour they would come out within 12 hours, and I'm told by Cadent they didn't get till 9 o'clock the next morning, and Cadent had been on site for 3 hours. At the present time, they are looking at compensation to everybody from Cadent. Severn Trent are now in the village hall, and they are waiting for residents to go in who have problems with boilers. They will take the details down, and they will go and have a gas engineer go round and sort out the boiler problem. So we are in a position where we are, but the thanks go to the community and to the officers and the response team. And I praise them unheartedly, really, for what they have done for my community. Thank you, Chair.
Very good, Ozzy. Thank you. Lee?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Formally second, and I'm pleased to see this emergency report here today. The recommendations are appropriate and also proportionate. This event could not have come at a worse time of year. My personal thanks go to all of those involved in delivering the response, a great hands-on team effort from all involved. I do single out Jane Moore for heading up the tactical coordinating group overseeing the local resilience forum and heading the response. Kirby Muxloe sits in my joint division, and thanks also to my fellow divisional member Nick Chapman, and also to Ozzy O'Shea, Mr. Ratby himself, for being our counsellors on the ground in the two villages. A fantastic community response. We now need the lessons learned. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lee. Deborah?
Yeah, I think Ozzy has put it really clearly about what happened and the response we had. But I think with all that's going on in the world and in our country, to see the community come together like they did just warms your heart, doesn't it? And we know that we can. I think I just want to put on record the thanks for the Resilience Forum. I think it was really tested and it proved that it really works. So that's key for us, and we need to make sure that's fully funded to ensure that carries on to be able to respond to this. And I'll join with Lee as well. My director, Jane Moore, was leading this. It was very stressful for her. She's got a big portfolio and a job to do. So this added to her, along with her family. She did an amazing job to keep it all together and make those really difficult decisions that needed, 5 minutes thought to put together. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with the response from the local resilience forum and all the authorities involved, but also the community have just been absolutely fantastic. And that warms my heart to see a community come together like that and support each other. So well done to everyone involved.
Christine?
Yeah, I didn't realise that my brother's part of one of the Resilience Forums group that gets called up, and he said how well organised it was. And he was there and we were sent here, there and everywhere with heaters and what have you. He said it was extremely well organised, so he was very, very impressed.
Thank you. With no other speakers, it has been moved by Ozzy. It's a fairly long recommendation, seconded by Lee as the local members. I also, as leader, want to thank Jane Moore for the work she did. She is in a pretty onerous job doing children's services anyway. So thank you, Jane. Thank Ozzy for, I know, the hours he actually put on the ground. And also really Cadence, because I think they did step up to the plate, and everybody's commented that Cadence acted swiftly and correctly. And of course, as Ozzy said, the plethora of volunteers and the community itself. So are we all happy to take a vote on the motion? So all in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ozzy. Just got to wait for Peter. If somebody can, David Briscoe's fetching Peter. Okay, welcome back, Peter. So next one, item 4, Provisional Medium-Term Financial Strategy, 24-25 to 27-28, pages 15 to 262. This is the MTFS, as we call it. Following consideration of the draft proposals by Cabinet in December, we've had public consultation, and finally we've had receipt of the local government settlement, including the last little bit which they announced at the wire. The comments of the Overview and Scrutiny bodies are set out in Appendix Q to this report. This is attached to your order paper. Since the Cabinet support the MTFS, subject to the Council support, the MTFS will refer to the Budget Council meeting on the 21st of February for final approval. We've got one local member wants to speak. That's Joe Orson, Deputy Chairman. He's the member for Melton Wolds. He will be speaking on this as he's joining us by team. So Joe is here and I can see him, yes. So Joe, I think it'd be best to do you first before I go to Declan. So are you ready to speak, Joe?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Well, first of all, Nick, thanks for allowing me to speak, and also thank you to your colleagues for putting up with me. But also a massive thanks to Blake Payne personally, because Blake's always there when you phone him up, and he's always there with good advice. And I know very well he's responded to people in Melton Wolds about the closure of the Somerby tip. The Somerby tip does serve 3 parish councils effectively and their residents, and also a very, very large garden centre out at Gateses. And for those of you, I can see Pam sitting there, she would soon tell you all how large Gates is and how many people it attracts. And obviously sometimes that does, people do nip along to the garden centre and also use the tip as well. The what people are very nervous about in the Somerby area, and it's a very, very sparsely populated area. Byron Rhodes once told me that Melton Wolds is possibly the most sparsely populated area in the county divisions. But they always feel they bear the brunt of the impact of any cuts because of the low population. I doubt whether that's true, but having said that, that's what they feel. But when you come back to the tip itself, they do feel as though if this does go ahead, it will obviously fly tipping will increase. I also have other people who find it very, very difficult to get to Melton, of course, because of aging. Some of the area, again, a very aging population, and some of them will find it more difficult to get to Melton to use the tip there. A fair bit of development going on around the Somerby area, and also that will increase the number of people. But like I said, they feel as though they are losing something. It's a historic community, active from the pre-war time, and it burned when it used to burn rubbish with 2 manual employees, I'm told. And burning rubbish will possibly come back to the fore if this cut does go ahead. So it's a final plea. I do recognise the difficulty of formulation of a balanced budget when you have adult social care, children's services, and the list goes on and on. But maybe I could ask a final plea for you just to reconsider this, maybe look at cutting back on number of days operating. And so back to you, Chair, for that. And again, thank you for allowing me these few moments to say those few words.
No problem, Joe. I'll go to Blake first. Blake.
Many thanks, Leader. I was proposing to speak during the course of the debate after the Director of Finance has presented the report. So if you will bear with me, I'll respond to Mr. Dawson's comments after the Director of Finance has presented the report, if that's okay.
That's fine, Blake. Are you okay to hang on, Joe, while so we do Declan first and then general speakers. So Declan, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Before I go into the report itself, I just want to provide a bit of context. There's been an awful lot of talk of Section 114 notices in the sector, but no new notices have been issued since November. And whilst the additional government funding has helped a bit, the main reason that notices haven't been issued is because authorities are applying for exceptional financial support from government. At least 8 authorities have publicly disclosed that they are in this position. If this exceptional support, which actually would just be in the form of loans, isn't forthcoming, there's going to be a flurry of Section 114 notices, demonstrating the real and immediate pressure that the sector is under. Just looking a bit further ahead from next year, there's no sign of the pressure easing. In the autumn statement, the Chancellor laid out a very challenging picture for the public service funding, with real term reductions for unprotected departments penciled in after 2024-25. Local government is not a protected department. It is in this context that the MTFS has been written. So just turning to the report. Since the draft MTFS was produced, there have been several changes. Whilst there is an improvement in the position, it does not change the key messages. We're still forecasting to use reserves to balance the budget next year, and the gap between income and expenditure is still forecast to exceed £80 million by the final year of the MTFS. The main change to the 2024-25 budget is the receipt of £5 million of additional social care grant. The allocation is outside of the spending review, so it's assumed to be one-off at this stage. However, the additional cash received will generate £200,000 of ongoing investment income. £100,000 of the investment income has been allocated to flood investigation and scheme development work, reflecting the impact the recent storms have had in the county. The balance of the investment income has been allocated to reduce the planned savings in recycling and household waste site service. Subject to consultation, this could result in 2 of the sites that are earmarked for closure remaining open, albeit with reduced opening hours. The level of council tax remains our most important decision in the MTFS. It is assumed that the maximum increase is applied with a 3% increase for core services and a 2% increase for the adult social care precept. This will generate £18 million more per annum for frontline services. The additional income is desperately needed as we are expecting new service demand to continue to be significant and cost pressure to be above the rate of inflation due to the influence of the national living wage. Over the course of the MTFS, £81 million of savings have been identified to help mitigate the additional costs. Despite this, no year of the MTFS can be balanced without the use of reserves, and the gap between income and expenditure is forecast to be £83 million by the final year of the MTFS. Government forecasts for the public sector do not indicate any increase in grant funding, leaving the problem to be solved locally. It's not plausible for a gap this size to be closed by further efficiency savings alone, although they will undoubtedly play a part. With capping of council tax increases expected to continue, what services we provide and how will have to be looked at. The budget for next year is built on reasonable assumptions. While the forecast use of reserve is not desirable, my assessment is that we can be confident of delivering a balanced position. For the following years of the MTFS, we are outside the current spending review and due a general election. There are numerous competing demands on the public purse, and an increase in economic growth is needed to meet just some of them. These factors make the level of uncertainty being faced probably the highest we've ever seen. As always, this is very challenging MTFS with some difficult savings and some major risks to delivery. The demands for social care and SEND will not go away. Additional savings will need to be found to mitigate the pressures and ensure that essential services can continue to be delivered. We remain better placed than most authorities due to the benefits of a strong balance sheet and a good track record of delivering on the challenges we face. The recommendations are set out in the order paper.
Thank you. So Blake, I'm going to do Lee, Richard, and then come to you. So we've got the motion formally moved and seconded, then you can speak. So Lee, you're first.
Okay, thanks, Leader. Can I thank Declan and the team for all their diligent work to produce the MTFS that is in front of you today, and also thanks to the Scrutiny Commission for their comments regarding it. I'd also like to thank those residents who responded to the consultation. It was good to see that the majority supported the proposals despite our difficult decisions being faced. Roughly half supported the proposed council tax increase, whilst the majority was supportive of the approach being taken on the growth and the savings programme. The final point to note was that there was continued to be strong support for the council continuing with its fair funding campaign. Residents do understand the position that we are in and they are not happy with it. It is increasingly difficult to set a balanced budget, and I hope that the opposition groups will finally begin to acknowledge this by ceasing the mindless practice of voting against it at council. The approach taken with the MTFS is with the very best interests of our residents in mind. The short-term populist approach adopted by some councils around the country is not something we should ever see in this council, and this cabinet with its strong leadership will maintain its robust management of this council's finances. I'm proud to say that we remain a well-run council and that we have saved 262 million since 2010. But with spiralling costs and growing service demands, it means that this is still the toughest budget we have ever faced. The report sets out in detail both the savings and that we are targeting and all of the options we're being considered. With the financial position that local government is in moving forward, we need to challenge how we deliver every service, and we will be doing so. It is pleasing that we've been able to find some monies to reduce the savings requirement for the tips, and I'm sure people will appreciate the timely investment in the flood prevention. Obviously, we would like to have done more, but the decisions we make must be balanced to ensure financial sustainability. Low funding continues to be our biggest challenge, and whilst we have not had the outcome we desire and our residents deserve, our lobbying has kept this difficult topic on the government's agenda. It was pleasing to see our Leicestershire Conservative MPs representing us in Westminster, and it would be remiss of me not to mention the letter that Alberto Costa and Neil O'Brien signed as part of that campaigning. Whilst the resulting funding is only a small contribution to the overall financial challenge, any improvement is to be welcomed in these difficult economic times. We will undoubtedly need to continue to work with the MPs to keep local government near the top of the Treasury priority list, and we have accepted the invitation given to us to meet Simon Hoare, the Minister for Local Government, to press our case once again. The residents of Leicester have put their trust in this Conservative administration to manage the County Council's finances in a responsible way, and that is what we continue to do. Leader, I do propose the recommendations on the order paper, and I note that the first one relates to the scrutiny comments, the second one relates to the MTFS, and just for Joe, the third recommendation allows the Director of Environment and Transport to carry out a further consultation on the proposed reductions in waste site hours. So all I would say to people out there listening to this is that we do listen to our public consultations. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Richard?
Thank you, Chairman. I completely support all that Declan has said and all that Lee has said, and I am pleased that we are continuing our practice. It's important, I think, to do this, of being completely honest and frank with people about the situation. It's there, warts and all. And I hope that people will understand that we are being honest and frank, and accept we are where we are, and we're doing the best we can with the money that we have. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, I'll come to you now, Blake.
Many thanks, Leader. So firstly, can I just respond to Joe, firstly by thanking him for the complimentary comments he made about my accessibility. And all I can say when a well-respected member like Mr. Orson phones you up, who can resist, the conversation. So I have, no problem. That's our role as public servants to discuss these kinds of affairs with well-respected members like Mr. Orson. In terms of the points that he made, I do sympathise not only with the residents of Somerby, but I said in the initial consultation with regards to the proposals around the waste and recycling sites, we know these are valued public amenities. And if it were not for the financial challenges that the authority continues to face, we would not have been putting these proposals forward. You indeed yourself, Leader, at a full council meeting made a very similar comment. However, we've been fortunate in that the government have awarded the authority around £5 million worth of extra funding, and that at the 11th hour has allowed us to revise our proposals and respond, as Mr. Brecken has said, by listening to the consultation in respect of the waste and recycling sites. And our revised proposals propose that we keep 2 of the sites open, but unfortunately, Somerby, we will still pursue the closure of. Now, that doesn't make good reading or audio, for that matter, for Mr. Orson nor his residents, and I do sympathise and I appreciate the concerns there. But Mr. Brecken has made the point that I was going to make, that these proposals are subject to a further consultation, because in order to keep the sites open, particularly in the Harborough area, we are going to have to look at reducing the operating times of the Kibworth site to accommodate keeping the Harborough site open. Although, may I add, there will be a 7-day provision across the 2 sites nonetheless. So I'd encourage residents in Mr. Orson's division to respond to that consultation and make those value points as Mr. Orson has, and we can consider them in due course. But as far as the medium-term financial strategy provisions before us are concerned, I'll be supporting the paper, which includes the proposal to keep 2 of those 3 sites open. So I have every sympathy with what Mr. Orson said. I encourage his residents to engage with the further consultation on the waste and recycling sites, and we'll take a closer look at what his residents have to say. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you. Before I go to anyone else, just got to go back to Richard. Richard.
Thank you, Chairman. My apologies to all concerned. I forgot to formally second the motion. I do apologise, and I formally second it now.
Okay, so we are now formally moved and second. Okay, I've got Deborah next.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to pick up sort of a bit of a wider issue. I chair the Police and Crime Panel, and they looked at the budget that the Police and Crime Commission put forward that covers the police force budget, and reading that was not a pleasant experience. And they are severely underfunded, as are all our schools underfunded, as are we underfunded. And when you put all that together, because we all work together across the county, that just creates the perfect form for us. So we're not alone in this issue in Leicestershire of being underfunded. So it really does need looking at. And I think the way forward for me is we need to look at policy change now. There's no horizon of any further money coming for us, and I think we need to look at how we change our policies and change our duties that we're given from the government to fit the budget envelope that we've been allocated. We just cannot continue as we are, and if we continue down this road in the next couple of years, all we will be is a social care provider. We won't be able to provide any other services. So it is key for me that we all in this together. And just looking at my own Department of Children and Families, that's been hit really hard with growth. We've got a lot more children living here with a lot more complex needs, a lot of unaccompanied asylum children that are coming here out of the hotels and coming across on the boats and things like that. So we are under severe pressure in the Children's Department, and we need to deliver our services and support our families in a different way. And we are working really hard on that, but I am pushing back on removing early help for support and support for our families, because to do that just increases the costs in the long run. But we're getting pressure to make the budget fit for next year, and we can't carry on just looking at one-year budgets. We need to look to the future, and removing early help and support for families and supporting them early on to stop them getting into crisis point is the way forward for me, and not taking vast amounts of children into care in the long run. So we need to be really careful about how we do manage this. And as I've said, policy change is what needs to happen, and I hope the new government, whoever they are, addresses that with great urgency. And I just also want to put on record our thanks for our MPs who are fighting hard for us, and I think we all need to stand together across Leicestershire with our MPs, with the police, with our schools, to continue our fight for fairer funding for Leicestershire. And I did just pick up Jane Hunt's comments in the chamber as well on the local government spending review, and I wholeheartedly agree with what she said. She hit it right on the head about what's needed. So I do thank our MPs for the hard work as well, but we need to all stand together and continue this fight for Leicestershire to get our fair amount of funding.
Thank you, Deborah. Further to that, I also chair the combined fire authority, which is Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland, and we also are the lowest funded fire authority and with the lowest spend of any fire authority in the country. So it almost appears like whoever's in power has got a vendetta against Leicestershire, but we do our best. Okay, Christine, you're next.
Thank you, Leader. It would be remiss of me not to thank Declan and his team and Councillor Brecken for their work that they've done on behalf of myself and the residents of Shepshed about the tip. And certainly Blake, who's been there at the fore and saying that, you know, we do listen to residents, we do, you know, read what they say in the consultation. I know it's down to 2 days a week, but that's better than nothing. And I just hope one of those days is a weekend. Like a lot of people have said, it will stop fly tipping and it will help the environment so people haven't got to drive so far. I'm also pleased about the extra money for flooding. Not that we had much problem in Shepshed, but with the rain that we've had over the last 24 hours coming here, I was going through quite a lot of flooding on the road. Going back to my department, adults, that we've got extra needs in that, and certainly that we're trying hard to deliver our services with the money that we've got. So just like to thank everybody for all their hard work that we're doing. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got no other speakers. So the motion was moved by Declan, seconded by Richard. There has been some, moved by Lee, seconded by Richard. I'm getting confused. We've had some good comments. All I can say is, Leader, that we're proud to be honest and open. We're proud that through the administration, we've always protected the vulnerable. We're proud that we've always been efficient. And we're proud that we do the best with the money we've got. And finally to Declan, that we will never, this administration, ever ask you to serve a 114. We are capable of making tough decisions if tough decisions are needed. And finally, as other people have mentioned, thanks to the positive, I think it has been positive help from the members of Parliament, as they've said that they secured a meeting with us, with Leicestershire members, with the Chancellor, one of the only counties in the country to ever meet with the Chancellor, so I thank them for that. I thank them for lobbying to get us the extra 5 million. It isn't a panacea, but it certainly helps us, so I thank them for that. And I, in particular, thank the two members of Parliament who actually signed the letter, which is a big thing for members of Parliament to sign the letter to the Chancellor when they're announcing the budget. So particular thanks to Neil O'Brien and to Alberto Costa for putting their heads above the parapet. So having said that, has been moved and seconded, and I'll call for a vote in favour. Okay, thank you. And also, Declan, thank you and your team for your usual hard work down there. Item 5 is charging for social care and support policy. It's the outcome of consultation. It's on pages 263 to 332. John Wilson's the Director of Adults Communities to present, with Steve Pugh, the Head of Service. I'll then go to Christine, as she's the lead Cabinet member. So over to you, John.
Thank you, Leader. So the revised policy is designed to continue to meet the principles for charging set out within statutory guidance, and it continues to allow the Council to charge and collect contributions towards the cost of adult social care and support services. As set out in the previous paper, the revisions to the policy are largely clarifications to wording, with some small revisions to some of the elements. The Those revisions are set out in paragraph 20. They include areas around housing costs that may be included as an allowable expense, circumstances where a person may be allowed to retain additional income, and some changes to the way that absences planned absences to planned care are charged for. In addition, there are further clarifications to some of the provisions of the policy. For example, where the council can refuse to request a preferred choice of accommodation, where it's felt that that will be unaffordable either to the council or to a person making a third-party top-up. There are some new methods of ensuring that non-residential and residential financial assessments take account of partner income and capital. And there are some revisions to the way that partners are addressed within the charging policy. The consultation ran from the 27th of November through to the 22nd of January. It involved general public, it involves specifically people who are using services, their family, friends, and people who support them. And we also engaged with local advocacy groups. We promoted the consultation through the council social media channels, but it is worth noting that a small response was received. A total of 23 responses were received to the consultation. Overall, of those who did respond, 67% agreed with the proposals, and the full detailed analysis is in Appendix B. Many of the comments that were received weren't actually pertinent to the consultation in hand. Many of the comments came back in response to commentary around national policy, particularly national policy in respect to the differential between social care and the NHS in terms of charging. We have summarised some of the comments in paragraph 29, but as I say, the full commentary is at Appendix B. Some of the comments that did come back did talk about the fact that the policy is difficult to understand. It's quite complex. It's quite technical. It's a lengthy policy. So we are providing further clarification on the policy, and that will be available through a series of fact sheets, which we are developing and co-producing with people who use adult social care services to ensure that they are more understandable for the general public. There was nothing within the consultation, nothing raised within the consultation that would necessitate reconsideration of the proposals within the policy. An equality impact assessment screening was completed. The screening indicated that whilst there will be mainly positive impacts under the proposals, such as the partner adjustments, there could be a mixed impact depending on a person's individual circumstances, including packages of care and financial assessments, and that may have a negative impact for some individuals. As detailed within the policy, there is an existing dispute and appeal mechanism, and in addition to the statutory complaints process, that does enable people to challenge any decisions made by the council on their assessed contribution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Christine? Oh, did you want to say anything, Steve?
No, John's covered it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Very wise, very wise, Steve.
Sorry, Leader.
Deferring to the boss.
Sorry, Leader, I didn't want to butt in if Steve had got something to say. Just like to thank John and Steve for the work they've done on this consultation. As John said, from the 27th of November until the 22nd of January, the council consulted service users of the Adults Department, their friends and families, advocacy groups and Age UK. Feedback was required on the council's revised charging policy for care and support. Whilst the responses received varied widely, there was a consensus that the current policy was complicated and therefore difficult to understand. I know because I'm a user of this. The Adults and Communities Department has listened to these concerns and acted accordingly in 4 ways. The Care Contribution Estimator is now available on the Council's website. This tool will assist people to gain an indicative contribution amount. Number 2, 9 pieces of simplification of the policy has been enacted. 7 policies have been reinforced due to their importance and the need for people to be clear on them. It is understood that our service users and their families need accessible policies relating to their care packages. The Adults Department has hard task balancing this alongside the need for a technically complicated, legally binding document. To that end, the department will perform the following piece of work: a working group to be formed consisting of the department's engagement panel, volunteers who have themselves received social care, and members of the Leicestershire Equalities Challenging Group. The panel will review the way supporting information is presented to the public. I therefore support and propose the revised charging policies for approval.
Thank you. Louise.
Thank you. I formally second the motion. Just pleased to see that fact sheets will be looked at so that people understand the policy clearly. Thank you.
Okay, so we have no other speakers. It has been formally moved by Christine and seconded by Louise. All in favour, please show. Thank you. Microphone off, Christine.
It's off. Oh, it's not. Sorry.
Sorry. We're back to you in a minute anyway. Future of Transitional Learning Programme, pages 333 to 356. Another report from the Director of Adults and Communities. John will be joined this time with his colleagues, Inderjit Lahal, Assistant Director, and Paul Fleming, Head of Service, and then I'll come back to you again, Christine, because this is one of yours. So are you doing this, John, or? Okay.
I'll take this, Leader.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Leader. So I'm going to open the report briefly and then hand over to Paul if members have any further details or questions needed. So we're here today to request permission to formally open consultation on the TLP service across a range of stakeholders. This item was heard last month at scrutiny prior to coming to Cabinet today. So in summary, TLP is a service run by the Adult Learning Service within the Directorate. The provision and referrals and part of the funding for each student are directly from Children's Services via the High Needs Block of the DSG. The paper details the position of the service in relation to the student numbers, financial position and the staffing structure in the service. But in summary, the service has been reviewed as part of a review due to the learner numbers and the financial position. That's based on the current numbers and also at full capacity. The paper highlights the shortfall in funding, which presents a risk to the service, hence the proposed service review and consultation. The draft consultation is in the papers attached as an appendix, and subject to any comments today, will be issued on the 22nd of February and run for 6 weeks, closing on the 4th of April. Following this, we'll return to Cabinet with the outcome of the consultation and propose next steps. If there's any further details needs on the paper or proposals, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Inderjit. I'm coming to you, Christine.
Thank you, Leader. Some of Leicestershire's most vulnerable young adults who suffer with profound multiple learning disabilities receive educational programmes via the Adult Learning Department at the Council. Due to the following issues, the Adults Department seeks Cabinet approval to consult on the Transition Learning Programme's future. 1. The prefabricated building that houses the learners, despite repair works, is now reaching the end of its life. 2. Due to the limited number of learners, a maximum of 7, but currently educating 3, funding from central government has been reduced. And 3. The maximum income the service can generate is well below running costs, meaning that a considerable debt deficit is accruing on an annual basis. As lead member, I have received 2 detailed reports on this matter and seek Cabinet support in commencing this consultation period on the future of the programme. In return for your support, the Adults Department will consult with service users, parents, carers, special educational needs providers, agencies and partners. I encourage service users and their families to engage with Adult Learning Service during this period, and I eagerly await this matter to return to Cabinet upon compilation of all the feedback received. The most important piece of information that members and officers wish service users and their families to know is each and every vulnerable young adult will continue to absolutely receive a tailored service that meets their educational needs. Not a single adult will be omitted from high quality caring alternative provision. I support the recommendations on the paper.
Thank you, Christine. Peter.
Thank you, Leader, and I'd just like to thank the department for all the hard work you do in this area. I think as was raised in previous items on the agenda, the county council really does encourage people to participate in the consultations and does listen to the feedback that we receive. So the point that I just tried to add to Christine's comments are that I really do encourage people to come forward and give us their views on this so that it can be taken on board in the consultation process. Otherwise, I second the proposal on your paper.
Thank you. So we have no other speak. Oh, you do, Pam. Sorry, Pam.
I just really wanted to add, I think it's very important for these young people with special education needs. They do need some help. They do need some change in the day-to-day rhythm and not just being sat at home or in a day centre. So I think this is an important service. What I do hope in the survey that we're doing, that some of the families also have special needs and they may not totally understand the survey. And so I just wondered if there was any help being offered to families to complete the survey. Thank you.
Is that for you to answer, John or Paul or Inderjit? Paul, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, there's two parts to the consultation. There's the Have Your Say on the website, and then there's face-to-face meetings with the parents and carers and advocates of the learners.
Very good, good explanation. Moved and seconded, all in favour? Thank you, guys. Moving on, 7, Children and Family Services Departmental Plan 24 to 26. This is on pages 357 to 368. Jane Moore, Director of Children and Family Services and obviously leading the LRF at the moment, will present the report. Then I'm going to go to Deborah. So while you're here, Jane, you heard us thanking you for your good work in addition to obviously this onerous job you do here. Over to you.
Thank you, Leader. So I'm presenting to you the Children and Families Department Plan for 24 to 26, which is appended to the report that you've got in front of you. The plan has been developed to fulfil our statutory duties across children's services and also set out the vision, the planning and commissioning and delivery of services until 2026. The plan is for all children across Leicestershire, living in Leicestershire and their families, and it sets out those high-level priorities for the next 3 years and covers, and the plan has been informed by feedback from children, young people and families on their needs and their experiences. In terms of the plan itself, there are 3 ambitions to support children and young people to build stronger foundations, to support children and young people to be safe and belong, and support children and young people to enjoy and achieve. And there are 10 associated priorities across those 3 ambitions. And the plan also sets out how we'll deliver and how we'll know we've made a difference for children. The department continues to actively engage with children, young people and families across Leicestershire as part of the direct work that we do through group work, through surveys, through conversations and specific engagement activities, but also a number of forums that you can see that we've detailed in paragraph 2012. And we've used that feedback to inform the development of the plan. The plan was considered by the Children and Families Overview and Scrutiny on the 23rd of January, and there was overall support for the plan. So I'll finish there. Thank you, Leader.
Very good, Jane. Deborah?
I'll formally move the recommendations, and if you want a chance to look at the plan, it is a very pretty and beautifully brightly coloured one. And I think what's really good in here, it involves our children and young people and their families and what they've told us. So this plan is all included their voice in there, which I think is really important. So I'm happy to move it, and it's a really good plan.
Thank you, Deborah. Pam, yes.
Thank you. I agree. The plan is good. It is a pretty one to look at, but it is very easy to understand. And I think the most important thing from that plan is that families are not being forgotten. So families are being involved in what's happening with their children. And we're doing a lot of work with babies because the first few weeks, few months of their development are very important for the rest of their lives. And I think a lot of people don't realise that. So I'm more than happy to second this proposal.
Okay, moved by Deborah, seconded by Pam. All in favour, please. Thank you. Jane? That's one for you, Jane. Leicestershire's policy on admissions to mainstream schools, determination and admissions arrangements. This is on pages 369 to 472. This time we're also asked to approve the expansion of the catchment area for Little Bowden Primary School and changes to the admissions number at 4 other primary schools. So you'll explain, Jane, then I'll go to Deborah.
Yes, thank you. So the report is seeking Cabinet approval for a number of changes to the school admission arrangements in Leicestershire. The school admissions policy sets out the council's admission arrangements, particularly for the purposes of allocating school places to community and voluntary controlled schools within Leicestershire. So the policy doesn't apply to other schools across Leicestershire or other local authority areas. The current admissions policy was approved by Cabinet in February 2023. So in terms of the proposed changes, the first one is around school preferences. The policy recommendations focus on increasing the number of preferences that can be made on the local authority application form from 3 to 5. It's really about maximising the opportunities for parents to secure a local place for children, and it'll have a positive impact both on local and wider environment, but also benefit to the council transport budget by reducing the need to transport children to schools much further away. The second proposed change is around simplifying the system. So we're proposing to move to a model of using a single criterion plus distance. The current model uses a combination of criteria and then distance is a separate final criterion. This will give us a far simpler model and enable parents to understand better the likelihood of success when applying for a school place. And the model would make determination of places much easier to understand as well. Another change is around removing ambiguity and improving clarity within the admissions policy, really focused on improving the understanding of the policy and associated coordinated schemes through simpler language. Another change is around catchments. The catchment change is really in response to Meadowdale Primary School having expanded their catchment area to come into force from this year. And in order to ensure that the Little Bowden Primary School won't be negatively impacted by that change, we're seeking to expand its catchment area as well. This will result in parents in that area having two schools to choose from within this catchment, and it improves both choice and diversity as well. We're also seeking to reduce admission numbers in a number of schools. Leicestershire is experiencing low birth weight rates, and as a consequence, at the National Offer Day for primary this year, the authority did have over 1,400 surplus school places, and this is the second year that this has been the case. The changes will help schools falling into negative budget positions and ensure that schools don't breach the school admissions regulations. So we're proposing to reduce the admission numbers at 4 primaries, Foxton, Hallerton, New Balverden and St Bartholomew's. There is no requirement to consult if we need to then increase the number of admission number, except if it's significant, but we are required to consult on the proposed reductions. So we've detailed in paragraph 16 the consultation that took place, and that all includes the detail of who was consulted, when we consulted and what we asked for feedback on. We did get 49 responses and we've detailed those responses in paragraph 29. In terms of the views of Children and Families Overview and Scrutiny, the report was considered at the meeting on the 7th of November alongside a report on the admissions service performance for the previous year. The detailed feedback from Overview and Scrutiny again is included from paragraphs 31 to 34. So just to end, really, it's hoped that by making the proposed changes that we've set out for you today will ensure that the local authority policy and arrangements are compliant, but also that we offer best choice and access to Leicestershire schools for children and young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah.
I'll formally move the recommendations, and I think it's a really difficult time when you're choosing a school for your little ones to go to, and we want to make it as easy and pain-free as possible for parents and family and get them into their local schools so they remain within their community. So this just helps us do that a little bit better, and it's always a difficult juggling act for us to allocate school places. So making it much easier for parents to apply is good, and adding that 5 school preferences, every time I speak to people I always say make sure you put all those as many preferences down as you possible, because that enables you to get a school within your area. So very happy to move these, and I'll move the motion.
Thank you. Christine.
I'm happy, leader, to second the promotion. Thank you.
Okay. So we've got no other speakers. Moved by Deborah, seconded by Christine. All in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you, Jane. 9, review of the whole school approach to food and nutrition programme, the outcome of engagement and proposed new model. Mike Sands, Director of Public Health, and Sally Valance, Head of Service, are here to present the report. Then I'll be going to Louise, who is the Cabinet Lead Member for Public Health. Yep, nothing else to add. Thank you. Are you doing it, Sally, or Mike?
I'm going to hand over to Sally to do it. I might just come back at the end and add a couple of lines if I may.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So we currently have a contract with the Soil Association to deliver our whole school approach to food and nutrition provision across primary schools in Leicestershire. And at the moment, this offers face-to-face officer time with schools and an online offer. The contract for this work is due to run out on the 31st of May of this year, and the whole school approach to food and nutrition offer overall is subject to an MTFS saving. So we've therefore proposed a new model. It's based on need, it's based on the council's responsibilities, and it's based on the responses from an engagement exercise with primary schools. So we're proposing to decommission the existing service and commission a new service, which will provide a targeted face-to-face offer for those schools with higher levels of obesity, alongside a universal offer for all schools to access the online training and support. We've engaged with schools on this new proposal, that took place through the autumn, through October and November, largely through an online survey with those schools. We had 17 responses to that survey. Overall, schools were very supportive of the offer that they'd received so far. They'd felt positive impacts from that, and they felt it was an important part of the work that they do. In relation to the new proposal, half of the schools responding said that they agreed with those proposals, and they felt that that was the right approach for us to be taking given the context that we're operating in. 35% disagreed and 15% neither agreed or disagreed. And of those disagreeing, it was largely about the withdrawal of that staff time and the impact that they felt that would have on their being able to really put emphasis on the programme going forwards. So given all of those things that I've talked to you through, the proposal here today is to decommission the existing service and instead to put forward that targeted service that offers that face-to-face time still for those schools with the highest level of obesity, and for all schools to be able to receive that online training and support. Right.
And then just to reiterate that one, I think it's the bit down the bottom end of paragraph 41 is the important bit. Obviously, we need to make a individual service line cut given the pressure on the public health grant and the MTFS. But I suppose with my DPH hat on, there is that sense of always recognising that obesity and the damage it does to people's health is important. So hopefully in this proposal, we've managed to pull off that trick of making the single line saving whilst not losing the good bits of what we need to do and then incorporating it in our overall work around obesity. So thank you, Leader.
Okay, Louise.
Thank you. I'll formally propose this motion. It is important work, and I'm really pleased that the department has managed to provide a model that will target those that really need the face-to-face support, but also still giving a universal offer to all schools. I've been out to many schools myself and seen the good work that is done. It benefits not only the children, but it fits the curriculum. It also benefits parents and grandparents and the communities. So I'm happy to propose the new model and pleased that we didn't have to do anything even more drastic for it. Thanks.
Yes, indeed. Deborah.
Thank you. I formally second the motion. I think with the budget pressures we've got, sadly, we are having to row back on our universal services and just do a lot more targeted work. So, yeah, I will support the proposals, but I just take Mike's point about obesity, and obviously there's a lot of in the news domain about children's teeth, and I think that's all linked to healthy eating and nutrition and things like that, isn't it? So it all goes into one. So disappointingly, we're having to rein back on that universal offer, but I think this is the halfway house and we've got to go with it because we need to save the money.
Indeed. Right, so moved by Louise, seconded by Deborah. All in favour? Thank you, Holly. Thank you. Sorry, Sally. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Mike. Ten, Equalities, Diversity, Inclusion Strategy. This is for the years 24 to 28. It's on pages 533 to 552. We've got Leon Cherikar, Policy Manager and the Chief Exec's Department, is here to present the report. We've also got two of your colleagues apparently in the room watching us today, so welcome to them. So I'll let you go ahead and then I shall go to Pam.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present the draft Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Strategy for 2024 to 28. This report seeks permission to consult on this strategy. Leicestershire County Council has a proud record of work in this area. The last resident survey in the autumn of 23 found that 93% of people agree that Leicestershire is a place where people of diverse backgrounds get on well. 82% agree the council treats all types of people fairly. In the latest workforce survey, 92.5% of staff agree the council is committed to equality, diversity and inclusion. The council has made a commitment to become an anti-racist organisation. It's become a menopause-friendly employer and was rated the best performing local authority in England for LGBTQ+ employment equality. We are disability confident and have also signed the British Sign Language Charter. The strategy for 24-28 builds on these successes, provides a structure based on 7 pillars: clear and confident leadership, a diverse workforce and inclusive culture, robust data and evidence base, honest community engagement, influential commercial arrangements and partnerships, accessible and fair services, and finally, accreditation and recognition. The consultation will seek to engage with residents, communities of interest, partner organisations, employee networks and staff. The aim will be to seek support for the strategy and to refine the priorities. We will use several approaches, including face-to-face and virtual community meetings, as well as online surveys. I personally am proud to work for an organisation that values the benefits of diversity, demonstrates clear leadership when faced with particular incidences and challenges. The plan is returned to Cabinet in June with the findings from the consultation and then seek endorsement of the strategy by full Council in July. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. Pam?
Thank you. I formally move this recommendation. I welcome this strategy as a signal of the Council's commitment to providing fair and accessible services for all communities in Leicestershire. The Council is proud of its record. It has a diverse workforce at all levels, seeks to meet the needs of those who use its services, and encourages all peoples in Leicestershire to get on well together. I'm pleased that in my role as lead member for communities, I get to meet a wide range of people and staff to listen to their experiences. I welcome the consultation on this strategy. I'd encourage all residents, people who use council services and staff to get involved and have their say. Whilst we are proud of our record, we're not complacent. I welcome ideas of how to improve what we do, and the findings from this consultation will guide the strategy and detailed work programme. Through this strategy, the Council will continue to work to ensure equity, fairness and inclusion of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I'm going to second this motion. I know it's consultation, but I just want to reiterate that this administration, and while I've been leader, I've been proud of our equality and diversity inclusion. And I've always said to Pam, if she ever has any issues, to come straight to myself and Deborah as the leadership team to address them as the leaders of the administration. So I do encourage people to reply to the consultation. The 7 pillars in the consultation are very, very sound, but let's see what they say. So I'll formally second, and then I'll go to Peter Bedford.
Thank you, Leader. Just a few points from me. I think just to reiterate Pam's comments around the success of the organisation. Certainly, in my view, the organisation is very good at equality, diversity and inclusion. As in paragraph 17, the report states, 92.9% of the residents surveyed agreed that Leicestershire is a place where people of diverse backgrounds get on well. I think that's a really good statistic that we can be proud of. And also, 81.8% of residents think that the council treats them fairly, a very high number of people. So it goes to show that we're perceived as being so as well. Just one final point I'd like to make, though, relates to the strategy in terms of the demographic insights you've got, I think, on page 9 of the actual strategy. Particularly my passion is around socioeconomic factors. So I think a lot of times in discussions about diversity inclusion, we talk about, gender inequality or racial inequality or sexuality. Often socioeconomic background gets overlooked in my view. I come from a single parent family, I had to kind of educate myself to get on in life, and I'm really passionate about enabling people to do the same. So I just wanted to push that as a real focal point in terms of ensuring that people from different backgrounds also have that same ability to get on in life.
Do you want to comment on that, Leon?
I think that's a really valuable point, and we work on the legal requirements, but I think socioeconomic factors are really key, really important. I think that's something that may well come up through the consultation. Maybe we need to strengthen that area of the strategy, so I'd welcome that comment. Thank you.
That's okay for you, Peter? Okay, so I've no other speakers. Moved by Pam, seconded by me. All in favour? Thank you, Leon. (11) Response to the Harborough District Council's local plan issues and options consultation 533 to 592. It's Regulation 18 consultation and the County Council's proposed response. Detailed comments are set out in the appendix. And please note we've had comments from Rosita Page, the member for Lutterworth, which are attached to your order paper marked 11. So Julie Thomas would normally be with us, but Julie Thomas is slightly under the weather, but luckily she's felt able to join us by Teams. And we've also got Tom Pennell, Assistant Chief Exec, in the room in case we need to know anything else. So, Julie, thanks for turning out. I know you're not well, so over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. As you're aware, the Harborough local plan was adopted in April 2019, but following the signature of the Statement of Common Ground on how to meet Leicester's unmet housing need, they have decided to take a review of the local plan. So this is the early stage, the first stage in the process. We do have a detailed report before you, but I won't go through that in detail, except to say that our comments are focused around ensuring that the local plan continues to comply with the County Council's policies and objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I'll formally move the recommendation on the order paper. And I know it is difficult for a lot of districts and boroughs, this unmet need question, but I think if it isn't addressed, their local plan could be found unsound. So
absolutely.
I know it is difficult for members to take because it is quite a big number coming from the city, but if they don't make an effort and take it, they'll end up worse off with an unsound local plan. So I'll move the motion and go to Deborah.
Absolutely.
I'll second the motion. It's quite a technical response anyway, isn't it, as our view of consultee. So I think it's really difficult, especially for twin hatters, to sit here and distinguish between our districts and our county hats. But for me, it's just a technical response. We're going to have to go through this with all the districts at some point over the next 18 months too. So I will second the motion and support it.
Okay, no other comments. Moved by me, seconded by Deborah. All in favour? Okay, thanks, Julie. Get well soon.
Thank
See
you.
You next week, hopefully.
See you. You will. Thank you.
12 items referred from Overview and Scrutiny. We have none. Urgent items, well, I dealt with that as the first one, and we've no other urgent items. So that concludes the meeting. Thank you for attending.